On the news tonight, President Bola Tinubu stresses need to approve of fresh borrowing of 1.15 trillion naira. Delta State House of Assembly upholds recommendation on public petitions. State government says collections of development levies, popularly known as DEVE fees, remain illegal. And abroad, 34 years old Democrat Zoran Mamdaru emerges New York governor. Good evening and welcome to Delta Television main news. Apologies for coming behind schedule. It was due to some technical challenges. I am Pauline Okolie. You can also follow our news online on Facebook at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba and on YouTube at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba, or visit our website. President Bola Tinubu has asked the Senate to approve a fresh borrowing of 1.15 trillion naira from the domestic debt market to finance part of the 2025 budget deficit. The President request contained in a letter read during plenary by Senate President Godswill Akpabio. According to the letter, the new borrowing was aimed at bridging the funding gap and ensuring the implementation of government programs and projects under the 2025 fiscal plan. Senate President Akpabio referred the request to the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt for further legislative scrutiny, directing the panel to report back within 1 week. The request came just 5 days after the Senate approved another borrowing plan, a $2.847 billion external loan, including a $500 million sub-sukuk to finance the 2025 deficit and finance Nigeria's maturing Euro bonds. The approval followed the report presentation by the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt chaired by Senator Marco Magatakada Aliyu, which disclosed $2.347 billion will come from international capital markets, while $500 million will be raised through bond to fund infrastructure projects worldwide. The State House of Assembly has upheld recommendations of the House Committee on Public Petitions to strike out the petition of one Oyiboro, Felicia Efe, for lack of jurisdiction. Favor Okafor details.
The Chairman House Committee on Public Petitions, Honorable Matthew Monade, while presenting the committee's report at plenary, explained that the petitioners sought redress over the alleged refusal of the Local Government Service Commission to restore her 4-year period of study leave without pay, being the time she was away for academic studies. Honorable Monade said investigations revealed that the case was already before a competent court of law and therefore the House lacked the jurisdiction to entertain it.
This House or any other body is banned and cannot discuss or investigate this petition after having knowledge of the pendency of the matter in court between the same parties. Any attempt to ignore this principle and continue to investigate the petitions will not only amount to legislative rascality, but will also most likely prejudice the outcome of the judicial proceedings or create parallel processes that may result in conflicting findings or outcomes. That by virtue of Section 6 Subsect D of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as Porter, which vests judicial powers in the court to determine civil rights and obligations, parallel investigations on the same subject matter may inadvertently offend the separation of powers enshrined in the Constitution.
Supported unanimously by lawmakers, the petition was accordingly struck out.
Those in favor that the petition be struck out for lack of jurisdiction on the part of the Delta State House of Assembly to entertain sin. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The Speaker, the Right Honourable Imamotimi Gwo, thereafter directed the Clerk of the House to formally communicate the resolution to the relevant authorities and charged the Chairman House Committee on Compliance to ensure adequate follow-up. Favor Okafor reporting.
Stakeholders and residents of Cable Point in Asaba have been urged to freely express their ideas and opinions to help shape the Cable Point Urban Renewal Plan, a project aimed at improving the living conditions and physical outlook of the area. The Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Renewal, Mr. Michael Anoka, stated this during a meeting with stakeholders at State Urban Forum held in Asaba. Tessie Abuga's report is presented.
Mr. Anoka explained that the choice of Cable Point as the pilot community for the Delta North Urban Renewal Program was based on the economic and environmental potential, noting that the project would enhance the overall well-being of residents and businesses in the area. Short participants that the final urban renewal plan would reflect the people's priority and urge them to suggest infrastructure and amenities that could transform their neighborhood. The Commissioner said the engagement was in line with the United Nations initiative that promotes citizens' participation in tackling urban challenges and developing sustainable communities.
The current administration of His Excellency, the Right Honourable Sheriff of JP, the Executive Governor of Delta State, through the renewed hope for more agenda of infrastructural development, has stepped up to address these urban challenges. This transformation also means an upgrade of the well-being of all who lives and transacts business here. Therefore, enjoin you all as stakeholders in the development of Cable Point to bear out your minds and ideas to enable the production of what will become Cable Point Urban Renewal Plan.
In her remarks, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Dr. Charity Ehimen, commended participants for turning out to engage directly with the government. She encouraged them to take advantage of the opportunity to express their needs and challenges so that Cable Point can experience meaningful transformation.
We are here to hear from you what you want that can be planned for, provided and managed to make your environment, this community, better for your well-being improvement.
Also speaking, the chairman of Oshimili South Local Government Area, Honorable Kevin Ezenyeli, appreciated the state government for initiating the program in his locality and pledged council's full support towards implementing the outcomes of the forum.
In Oshimili South, we are very peace-loving people, not to talk of your ministry bringing more development to this place that is, of course, rural. We will give additional peace and support to whatever we are going to benefit here.
Stakeholders from the various communities that make up Cable Point listed their pressing challenges to include poor drainage, lack of street light, need for a community hospital, provision of boreholes, development of a beach facility, and the urgent protection of their coastal areas against erosion. They appealed to the government for prompt intervention to make Cable Point a model urban area in Asaba.
Director General of the Delta State Bureau for Communications and Orientation, Dr. Fred Ogenesiwe, has dismissed claims that defectors plan to hijack the Delta State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Dr. Ogenesiwe, in a statement, described the allegation by former lawmaker Honorable Efeo Fobrugu as unfounded, misleading, and divisive. He noted that Eldomeni Sabatier remained the state party chairman alongside other executive members who held their positions before Governor Sheriff Oborowori led members of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) into the APC earlier this year. According to Ogenesiwe, Governor Oborowori, as the leader of the state APC, has been working harmoniously with stakeholders across the state, a development that has made the party stronger and more focused ahead of future elections. He maintained that there was no internal crisis or plans to hijack the party, stressing that over 95% of members were satisfied with the current leadership. the APC chieftain urged Honorable Ofobruku to align with the expanded party structure, work with the state chairman and stakeholders, and avoid divisive political statements. He emphasized that the state APC remained united, vibrant, and well-coordinated under the leadership of Governor Sheriff Burewuri. The state government has reaffirmed that the collection of development levies, popularly known as DEVE fee, remained illegal across the state. The Director General of the State Orientation and Communications Bureau, Dr. Fred Ogenesiwe, made this known during a public affairs program. Dr. Ogenesiwe emphasized the government's commitment to enforcing the Public and Private Properties Protection Law of 2018, which prohibited the collection of all forms of levies and fees at construction sites, including the 10% charge often referred to as DEVE fee. He noted that the law prescribed severe penalties for offenders, including up to 2 years imprisonment or a fine of 1 million naira or both. The Director General stressed that the illegal practice discouraged investment and development, adding that the state government was working to sustain a secure and investor-friendly environment under Governor Sheriff Burewuri. Dr. Ogenesiwe urged victims of illegal collection to report such cases to the police, revealing that a court in Osubi recently convicted 4 persons for unlawful revenue collection. On national issues, the Bureau Chief commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his pragmatic leadership in tackling insecurity and terrorism, while calling for enhanced border. The federal government has rejected the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern by the United States, describing the claim as inconsistent with facts and reaffirming its commitment to protecting citizens and promoting religious freedom. The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, had recommended Nigeria's designation, a move endorsed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump, in a post on his Truth Social platform, alleged that Christianity in Nigeria faced an existential threat, claiming that thousands of Christians have been killed by radical extremists. He warned that the U.S. could take strong measures, including possible military intervention, if the Nigerian government failed to act. USCIRF Chair Ms. Vicky Hasler, while welcoming the decision, praised President Trump for addressing what she described as the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. In response, the federal government dismissed the allegations as misleading, maintaining that Nigeria remained committed to combating terrorism, protecting all religious groups, and fostering inclusiveness. Meanwhile, the United States Congress was considering a bill tagged the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2025, which sought to impose sanctions on state governors, public officials, and non-state actors linked to the enforcement of blasphemy laws or religious persecution. The bill, sponsored by U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, has passed second reading and was now before the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. China has since expressed strong support for Nigeria, describing the U.S. action as interference in the country's internal affairs. The Nigeria Immigration Service has unveiled plans to introduce a single travel emergency passport step, a new biometric travel document designed to assist Nigerians abroad with either lost, stolen, or expired passports. Comptroller General of Immigration Ms. Kemi Nandap made this known at the joint thematic meeting of the Khartoum, Rabat, and Niamey processes co-hosted by Nigeria and France in Abuja. In a statement by the Service Public Relations Officer ACI Akinshola Akinlabi, the immigration boss explained that the step will replace the existing emergency travel certificate as part of ongoing reforms aimed at strengthening identity management and border governance in line with global standards. The new biometric document, she said, will be issued at designated Nigerian embassies and consulates abroad and will be valid for a single entry into Nigeria, ensuring secure and verifiable repatriation of affected citizens. The Abuja meeting brought together key stakeholders in migration management, including the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons (NAPTIP), ECOWAS, the African Union, European Union, and representatives of African and European nations. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (CCPC) has sealed 5 textile warehouses in Kano for deceptive business practices. According to the Commission, the distributors were caught selling underweight and shortened fabric materials to unsuspecting buyers in violation of the FCCPC Act of 2018. The enforcement led by the Director of Surveillance and Investigation, Mrs. Boladale Adeyinka, followed weeks of undercover monitoring in major Kano markets. FCCPC's Director of Corporate Affairs, Ondaje Ijagu, said the investigation confirmed that traders sold fabrics below the stated length while charging full price. The Commission reiterated that the operation underscored its commitment to protecting consumers and ensuring fairness in the country's textile industry. You're watching Delta Television News. Still to come, 34 years old Democrat Zoran Mamdaro emerges New York governor. Please stay with us. We'll be back.
What makes a true leader in the game? Is it being the first to start? For over a decade, one name has always led in front. That name is Bet Naija. Bet Builder, Bet Freeze, One-Up, Bet Boom. Not just features, but unbeatable odds on over 300,000 live matches. You're playing to win. Just another reason why Bet Naija is truly Nigeria's #1. Bet truly #1.
Governor Sheriff once said, "A modern Delta is not a dream, it is a vision we are actively bringing to life." When you hear of Governor Sheriff's trip to Brazil, to China, it is a testament of Governor Sheriff's commitment to bringing world-class standard infrastructural development to Delta State.
For the first time in the history of Delta State, I am seeing flyover constructions this massive and in these numbers being constructed at the central.
Hundreds of billions have been approved this year for flyover constructions, both in rural, river, and urban.
And as we are here talking, I believe plans are already in progress to beginning the projects that are already approved.
Even as we are here talking now, the Ukeli flyover construction is already beginning. Governor Sheriff, they deliver for all areas. Talk about and education. What about health? Now human empowerment, too many to mention. Governor Sheriff don't talk and say 2026 budget, he go prioritize capital projects, social welfare, and infrastructure expansion. Governor Sheriff, governor will put the people before himself. Remanda.
I have told people that I will do more.
Governor Sheriff, governing with excellence. Brought to you by Delta State Ministry of Information.
So, there is a small problem. Despite all the entertaining ads we've created for you, some of you still haven't tried our services.
First of all, we are a licensed microfinance bank. Sorry about that. For instance, you can open a business account with us and get our POS with it. It's good for your business.
99.99% reliable.
I love it.
Our card, it dey work.
My money no dey hang. You can open a business or personal account with us in minutes.
Ai na bude na daga wannan kujera.
Our customer care is available. Abby? So, when it comes to reliability, security, convenience, and speed, you only need one bank.
Join millions of happy customers. Download the MoneyPoint app or find an agent near you to get started.
This ad is the MoneyPoint ad. Don't forget that.
Welcome back. The global scene is next as we join our world news desk.
Ugandan-born American Zoran Madani has been elected mayor of New York City after a historic race that energized young voters and redefined the city's political landscape. 34-year-old Zoran Madani, a Democrat, defeated former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent, to become the youngest person in over a century to lead the United States' largest city. Madani's campaign centered on affordability and economic reform, urging to expand social programs through taxes on high earners and corporations. Once a relatively unknown member of the New York State Assembly, Madani's grassroots campaign gained massive online traction earlier this year, propelling him to victory in the Democratic primary and ultimately the mayoral seat. In his victory speech, Madani, first South Asian and Muslim to hold the office, described his win as the beginning of a new age for New York City. Meanwhile, Democrats also recorded major wins in the governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey, while California voters backed a proposition to redraw congressional districts ahead of next year's midterm elections. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Moscow could resume nuclear weapons testing if the United States restarted its own program. Speaking at a meeting of Russia's Security Council, Putin confirmed Russia's commitment to the comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty, but warned that any test by Washington would prompt what he called appropriate and proportionate measures. The statement followed President Donald Trump's announcement that the U.S. will relaunch nuclear testing, sparking global concern. The Kremlin later clarified that no decision had been made yet, maintaining that Russia's response will depend on America's actions. About 9 people were killed when a UPS cargo plane crashed while taking off from an airport in Louisville, Kentucky on Tuesday evening. Earlier, Andy Bashir said the plane's 3 crew members were likely to be among the dead after the freight plane exploded as it departed Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. At least 11 other people were injured when the plane crashed, sending thick plumes of black smoke into the sky. Officials warned that people suffered very significant injuries in the incident and the death toll could rise.
And back home, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says Nigeria's crude oil production has risen to 1.7 million barrels per day, with plans to hit 2 million barrels by 2027. Chief Executive Officer NNPC Limited, Mr. Bashir Ulari, discussed this at the energy session of the Abu Dhabi International Petroleum Exhibition Conference, ADPEC 2025, in the United Arab Emirates. In a statement signed by the Chief Corporate Communications Officer, Mr. Andy O'Day, Ulari said increase in output was driven by renewed partnerships with international oil companies, indigenous producers, and the removal of long-standing operational obstacles. He emphasized that NNPC was working closely with OPEC members, African national oil firms, and financial institutions to attract between $50 and $60 billion in new investments by 2030. NNPC boss added that government incentives beyond the Petroleum Industry Act was already attracting investments into deep water exploration, dry gas development, and cost reduction projects, positioning the country for sustained growth in the global energy markets. Let's join our sports news desk for happenings in the world of sports.
The Executive Committee of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has approved the expansion of the Total Energies CAF Women's Africa Cup of Nations, WAFCON, from 12 to 16 teams, starting with the next edition to be staged in Morocco from 17th March to April 3, 2026. As a qualification phase for the 2026 edition has already been completed, the Executive Committee has approved the selection mechanism to determine the 4 additional teams. Based on the current FIFA Women's World Rankings, the top 4 teams from those eliminated in the final qualifying round have been selected to complete the list of participants. Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, and Egypt will join the finals of the Total Energies CAF WAFCON Morocco 2026. They are in addition to the 12 nations already qualified for the tournament, which includes Morocco, host country, Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, Algeria, Nigeria, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Kenya, Cape Verde, South Africa, and Senegal. The decision is in line with CAF's strategic vision to strengthen the competitiveness and development of women's football on the African continent. Remo Stars has refuted reports that Daniel Ogumode has quit his position as head coach of the team. Ogumode was said to have submitted his resignation to the Nigeria Premier Football League (NPFL) champions. The Sky Blue Stars, in a swift response, have now denied the rumors. The Ikene club currently sits in 17th position on the league table. They were also eliminated from the CAF Champions League by South African champions Mamelodi Sundowns.
Our thought for the day: the seat of power is never permanent. Our highlights before we go: President Bola Tinubu has asked the Senate to approve a fresh borrowing of 1.15 trillion naira from the domestic debt market to finance part of the 2025 budget deficit. The President's request was contained in a letter read during plenary by Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The State House of Assembly has upheld the recommendations of the House Committee on Public Petitions to strike out the petition of one Oyiboro, Felicia Efe, for lack of jurisdiction. The state government has reaffirmed that the collection of development levies, popularly known as DEVA fee, remained illegal across the state. The Director General of the State Orientation and Communications Bureau, Dr. Fred Oganesiwe, made this known during a public affairs program. You can also follow our news online on Facebook and YouTube at Delta Broadcasting Service Asaba, or visit our website www.dbsasaba.com. Thank you very much for watching. I am Pauline Okolie. Good night.
Governor Sheriff once said, "A modern Delta is not a dream, it is a vision we are actively bringing to life."